What else have we got going on this week in pro wrestling? Let's see. I thought I had another. Oh, this is something here. Brian, we asked the question. I can't remember how we phrased the question, but we were talking about the ridiculous number of championships and titles and things that are being belts, things that are being defended in AEW or competed for or talked about on AEW television. Would you like to hear the complete list that Jordan in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, a lot of people up there in Alberta listening, he compiled this for us so we could go up and down this list. I'll go down it, you go back up it.
Now, for the record, they just announced 3 new titles, or 1 new championship, I guess I should say, this past week on Dynamite. So this is up to date, this list?
Yeah, their new title is at number 5 here. So this is up to date.
Okay.
This is as of yesterday. Jordan, again from Calgary, says, these are all the belts that have been shown on AEW television and or competed for on AEW television. The AEW World title, the TNT title, the AEW All-Atlantic title, the AEW Tag title, the AEW Trios title, the AEW Women's title, the AEW TBS title, the Owen Hart Men's title, the Owen Hart Women's title, the FTW title, the Impact World title, the Impact Tag Team titles, the ROH World title, the ROH Pure title, the ROH Tag titles, the ROH Women's title, the AAA Tag titles, the IWGP United States title. Now, here's an asterisk. These titles were on the Forbidden Door pay-per-view. IWGP World title, IWGP Tag title. 2 asterisks. The annual Dynamite Diamond Ring.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah, you would include that.
That would bring the total to 20. 20 different championships of some description that are won in some fashion have been shown or competed for on AEW title. But Jordan, he sums the whole thing up. He says, so I wholeheartedly resent and dispute the notion that everyone in AEW has a title. There are at least 4 people who do not.
That's the problem. Even if you take out all the ones that are, and I'm not justifying this, temporary titles, like the IWGP showed up for the Forbidden Door or whatever. Even if you take all those outside ones out, there's still so many AEW ones, and when so many people are carrying belts, the belts mean less.
Well, exactly, because, again, we know that there is a certain segment of the population that's going to sit there and take note of every happening and keep track of who's the champion and who's the challenger and who the contenders are and blah, blah, blah. And we also know that there are more human beings in the world that would be likely to sit there and watch the show and say, okay, who are the champions? Who are the big stars? Who are the top guys? And they would recognize them by being the ones carrying the belts so that, you would know to get, okay, I know now this is the guy that everybody's supposed to be talking about. But when everybody is carrying something that signifies that they're the champion of something, then it's a fucking mess. Like I said, nothing means anything because it doesn't elevate those championships. It brings the talent down. Because if everybody's got one of these things that can't be hard to get, and then when you've got guys that are obviously visually, kind of and they're still champions, well, yeah, it just devalues the whole deal. But also, if you've got, and that's 20 championships, but a lot of those are tag team titles. So you're taking up 30-something people with all those championships, and then you've got to have double that amount of people to challenge for them, or elsewise you've got multiple people holding or one person holding multiple kinds of titles, or programs with multiple people challenging for multiple different, there's no clear focus. It's for fans of people who like pictures of guys with belts. Anyway, you know what they need instead of belts, Brian, in that company?
The wrestlers? What the wrestlers need instead of belts?
Yeah.
Or the company?
Well, what both?
I don't know. No, I don't.
They need fewer belts and more auto parts. Because seriously, think about it. Think about it. Everybody's got a belt.
How did I not guess that?
I don't know how you didn't come up with that immediately. Because everybody's got a belt, so even if you lose yours, the guy next to you is going to have one. You could just ask him, hey, can I borrow your belt? And he'll say, sure, because it doesn't mean anything and it's not worth anything. Here you go. You can have it for a while. But imagine, Brian, if you needed a crankshaft for a 67 Plymouth. Are you going to turn to the guy next to you in the locker room and say, hey, can you loan me a crankshaft for a 67 Plymouth? They're going to look at you like you got steaming turds hanging out of your mouth. But the folks at RockAuto.com won't do that because they won't see you. You're going to be on the internet. You're going to be on their website. If they saw what you looked like, they would look at you like you had steaming turds hanging out of your mouth. It wouldn't be because of the request you're making of them. It would just be because of your repugnant and off-putting appearance. But nevertheless, you don't have to be good looking to get auto parts from rockauto.com, and they do not require that you pass a test proving that you're cosmetically pleasing in order to purchase aforesaid products. All you got to do is log on to rockauto.com. You don't have to go to the brick and mortar store where they only have a few parts and they'll try to talk you into buying one of those and then just say, hit it with the hammer 3 times hard and it'll fit perfect. No. At rockauto.com, they not only have all the parts that are ever manufactured, but they know exactly which vehicles they're supposed to go on. And you don't have to hit them 3 times hard with a hammer. All you got to do is order the parts you need. It will be delivered to your door or to whatever you live in, whether it be a cardboard box or under an overpass. If you don't have a specific street address.
What about in a car?
If you're living in the car you're fixing up.
Yeah.
You don't even have to give them your address. You just give them your license number. They'll find you.
Well, it doesn't work like that, but.
Yeah. Just a Kentucky plate, license BR549. They'll track you down because rockauto.com, in addition to not needing brick and mortar stores, has amazing security cameras all over the country. And they can see whenever your car breaks down, so they're identifying potential customers. And every time you buy a part from them, a tracking device in the part.
No, they don't.
It lets them know where your car is in case you need more parts.
Not only does that not happen, that highly illegal suggestion or idea that Jim Cornette just put out there, not only does that not happen, but what's great is rockauto.com will sell you the parts and then leave you alone. Who doesn't want that?
Well, but when they bring you the parts, how do they find you if they don't have the tracker on you? See, you give them your license plate number and you leave the trunk up and you go to sleep. And then the next day, your parts are in the trunk. The trunk is clean. And by the way, if you pay extra, they'll remove from the trunk if you have any dead bodies or decomposing material. They'll take them out for an extra charge. They'll put your parts in the trunk, close the trunk. That's the way you know the transaction is finished. Don't have this stuff delivered to your house. Once they know where you live, you'll never get rid of them. Just have it delivered to the trunk of your car. But whether it be a car or a truck, no matter what kind of parts you need, engine control modules, brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, thermostats, it's all right there. And they're the lowest prices that you'll find. Well, you can find lower prices if you go to some of these junkyards that you find in lower income areas and you see some people crawling over the fence. You can get parts from them for lower prices. But sometimes people will come and, well, they'll take those parts back and they'll use them as evidence, and you might be caught up in that whole thing. So go to rockauto.com and you'll get parts that nobody's looking for. Actually, you may be looking for them, but to purchase them. I'm not talking about looking for them to repossess them and potentially bring criminal liability onto the person who is currently in possession of those things. Anyway, did I mention that RockAuto.com has a catalog that's remarkably easy to navigate?
And safe.
And safe and good for you. So you can see the parts, you can buy the parts, you can choose the parts, you can do the whole thing with it. Why spend up to twice as much for the same parts? You can spend half as much for these parts as you'd spend for these same parts in different parts of the country. So don't go to Parts Unknown. Stick around here and get parts from us. RockAuto.com. And write JCE in the How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you to them and we told you how they work, because they want you in on this whole thing. They don't want any surprises. You know, some people, if they don't know going in what they're going to experience, they call the police. Anyway, amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com.